Welcome to the Unlist, guys. Today's topic is clones, and because clones are a very popular debate among the frag bros on Facebook, Instagram, and the ball pit that is YouTube comment sections of big influencers, I decided I'll go to wear my hat backwards today. I'm going to be like one of the bros, since we're talking about clones, got my clone game. So, gotta look the part, okay, for this discussion. Now, I want your opinion on clones. I want to know what you think about clones. And you can write me a single sentence, or you can write an entire novel if you want to. Just make sure it's in the comment section below, and make sure it's civil, okay? So I might have an opinion about clones that you disagree with. That's fine. Just don't take it personal and attack me. I have seen many threads on base notes about the validity of clones. And I've seen it bring out the best in people and also the worst in people. I've seen people get so just disturbingly heated about the clone debate, like the lives of their own children were at stake somehow if they allowed clones to continue proliferating in society, like clones are a plague of locusts or something, destroying their crops. And I'm like, no. I mean, unless you're like somehow in the perfume industry and you can prove that clones are destroying your livelihood personally, I don't know why you need to be so up in arms about this. Just don't buy them. Don't tell other people they can't buy them if they want to buy them. So, but before I go any further into that, because that pertains to my opinion about clones, I don't want to give you my opinion about clones yet. Okay, we're jumping the shark a bit there. So what I do want to drop on you are some truth bombs, things that can't be argued, that are just the way it is with clones. Okay, and these aren't justifications for why clones should exist. They're just truths. Okay, they're not my truth, because that's weird and solipsistic. No, it's the truth. Okay, number one, clones are not exclusive to lower priced, more mass marketed fragrances copying more expensive and exclusive ones. That's not a clone, okay? That is a type of clone. It is very possible, and it has been done, that more expensive fragrances, more exclusive fragrances directly copy cheaper, more mass-marketed ones. The reasons why we can discuss, there's conjecture involved here, but there is no definitive answer as to why. Why would a more expensive, more luxurious, higher prestige brand with a reputation to lose, why would they one-to-one copy a cheaper, more common, social class works its way into this discussion, whether you like it or not. That's just the nature of it. Why would they copy a fragrance worn by the filthy plebes, by the proletariat, by the hoi polloi, by the commoners? Okay, why would they do that? I don't know. I can guess, but the fact remains that because of this, there are clones that punch down. Clones don't always punch up. I think, from what I've seen, most of them do. I think more clones are lower end products trying to substitute for higher end ones than the other way around. Just by the nature of how it works, things in the mass market are going to be larger in number anyway. So you're going to have more lower end fragrances trying to copy higher end ones than the other way around, on the virtue of the fact that there are just more of them. There are more lower tier options than there are higher tier ones. That's just the nature of the beast, okay? There are more McDonald's out there than there are Salt Bay restaurants, whatever that restaurant's called, but that guy that does this with the salt. He has like 2 or 3 locations globally. So he's definitely not competing with McDonald's in terms of number of locations. So it's the same thing with the fragrances. But there are clones that punch down, that copy a cheaper fragrance. Now, why do I think they would do that? Well, my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is not truth. Truth is that they exist. My opinion is that they exist because these higher end brands, these exclusive brands, one, they don't cater to enthusiasts and collectors like you and me. They don't cater to people who hang out in forums. They don't cater to people who watch or make YouTube videos. They don't cater to that crowd. They cater to that insular, detached wealth class of person, you know, that millionaire, multimillionaire class of person who is so much better and above everything, sees themselves as so much better and above everything. They live in their own little exclusive bubble. They're chauffeured around everywhere, or if they do drive their own car, it's an expensive car like, you know, a Bentley or something. They don't eat at the places we eat at. They don't shop at the places we shop at. You get my point, right? They have a world unto themselves, a world of luxury, a world of prestige, a world of total BS, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion again. So those people are very insecure. You wouldn't think when you have enough money to, like, you know, you have enough wealth to carry generations of your own family through for centuries without anyone having to struggle for anything. And when you figure you have enough money to power some third world countries, that you wouldn't have insecurity. But in fact, you have more insecurity than a lot of us regular people do. And those securities or insecurities are preyed upon very easily. So that person is worried about how they're seen, worried about how they're perceived by their lessers. Okay, they don't want to be seen as among you. They want to be seen as above you. So if there's a very popular style, you know, a very popular fragrance, for instance, but it's a lower end fragrance, it's a designer, okay, something like Calvin Klein, that person can't wear that Calvin Klein. They have to have an expensive, exclusive version of it. Because if they roll up in the country club, okay, they roll up on the golf course, okay, they roll up at the function, the charity function or whatever they're doing, the fundraiser. If they roll up into the Catalina wine mixer wearing Calvin Klein, while everyone else is decked out in Xerjoff and Creed and Roger Dove and all them other ones and Amouage, and they come walking in there wearing Calvin Klein, they're going to get like laughed at like this, so they can't. So what do? Well, they want a higher end alternative to that Calvin Klein, don't they? So there is a market for those higher end clones, those, and I hate this term when people say it's a niche version of this fragrance. No, it's not. Because if it was a niche version, it would be trying something different, wouldn't it? It would be trying to actually be different. But no, it's just trying to be a more expensive version of something and otherwise smell just about the same, okay? Rain by Royal Crown is like $600 and smells just about the same as Green Irish Tweed, which is still expensive, okay? This is just an even more expensive version of it. And then we can even kick that ball further downhill and we'll say, well, what about Cool Water, right? But we're not going to get into that, though. But you see my point, though. So clones definitely do exist that punch down, all right? Now, a lot of fragrances, and this is fact number 2, a lot of fragrances that people call clones are not one-for-one copies. They are alternatives towards, they are inspired bys, they are also rans and me toos. They follow the general trope of a fragrance, but without trying to be an exact copy of that fragrance. How many brands have you seen go, oh, Acqua di Gio is doing amazing, so we need to have our own fragrance like that? It can't be exactly like Acqua di Gio because we're too proud. We have a reputation to uphold. So we're not going to clone it, but we need to have something like it. So here comes Polo Blue. Here comes Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Here comes Bulgari Aqua. Here comes Avon with its 6 different takes on that theme. I'm not going to name them. It's irrelevant. But that's my point. Those aren't clones. You know, here is Chanel number 5. Okay, so here comes Arpege. Here comes Kalesh. All right, see my point? Those aren't clones. They're just, we want it in that style. We want it in that wheelhouse, a favorite term of mine. It's in the wheelhouse of that fragrance, you know. Drakkar Noir. You had Coffin Lux Taxi. You had Givenchy Sirius. You had Hubigant Duc de Vervins. You had Pancaldi Concentré. You had Lomani Pour Homme. All right. Those weren't clones. Alain Delon Plus is another one. Those weren't clones. They were just in the wheelhouse of Drakkar Noir. They all smell different. They have their own unique qualities to them. They aren't exact copies, so they're not clones. So, a lot of people out there who will smell Invictus and then look at something like Jimmy Choo Urban Hero or Valentino Uomo Born in Roma. Yeah, those fragrances are very clearly trying to steal the thunder of Invictus, but they're not clones. Just in the same way that Brut and Wild Country and Jade East and High Karate and all of those fragrances were trying to steal the thunder of Canois, of Clubman Pinot, very popular fragrances. But those newer versions in the 60s were not exact dupes of those older fragrances from the 30s or 40s. They weren't. They weren't clones. All right? So that's fact number 2. How? You want me to justify the statement? Okay, I can justify it. All right. What do you think happens when a brief is put out there on a short list of suppliers, and whoever wins that brief, that perfumer then gets to work and makes like his version of the fragrance according to the brief, and then the evaluator has to smell like 10 different takes and choose the one that they like? What do you think happens to the other 9 takes that don't get selected? Do they get thrown away? Sometimes. Sometimes they do. Depends. A lot of times, no. They get put into a file folder somewhere. They get saved. And then when a client comes along looking for a quick and dirty, looking for a fragrance to put out, but they don't have the money to spend to hire the perfumer to do a whole lot of finessing. So then they're like, okay, well, we'll sell you one of these. It's like the street dealer pulls the coat open. Oh, I've got all these formulas right here. I can sell you one real cheap. You know, you can have a new fragrance out tomorrow. It's done. It's already done. Okay? That's what happens. That's where all of these weird, no one's heard of brands that have fragrances, you know, that's where Caesar's Man came from. I'm sure Caesar has walked up to whoever and said, we want a fragrance that's kind of like Drakkar Noir, but we don't have a lot of money. So one of the unused, fragrances from one other brief or whatever that smells close enough. Okay, here you go. Every Hollister and OP fragrance and freaking B-side Kenneth Cole fragrance, it looks like something you've already smelled before. That's one of those. It's one of those unused mods. You know, every Antonio Banderas fragrance, like Blue Seduction. Very, very famously, Antonio Banderas' Blue Seduction was a mod for Acqua di Gio, but it wasn't picked. And I don't think it came from the same perfumers. It was a competing formula from a different perfumer. But point is, it was rejected, and it became Antonio Banderas' Blue Seduction. It's not a clone, though. It's not a clone. So that's truth number 2. Now, we understand what clones are and aren't, and we understand that they can both punch up and punch down. So what's my actual opinion on them, the validity of clones? Well, this is a hard pill to swallow for some of y'all, but I think clones are fine. I think they're fine. You know? I mean, it's fine. Clones are just the end result of there being a demand needing to be met, an insufficient supply meeting the demand. And it's more complicated than just, oh, well, why can't they buy a Ventus? Right? That's some Marie Antoinette bull crap right there. Let them eat cake, okay? No, that doesn't work. Because the average Joe who makes between 40 and 70 grand a year and can't afford to own a home, has to rent a home, probably drives a used car, okay? All right? Can't eat out more than maybe once a week, if that, all right? They can't go on vacation, so they take staycations more often than not because they can't afford flight let alone the passport to leave the country. But they love the smell of Aventus because they smelled it in the air, or they smelled it in Neiman Marcus or whatever. They love BR540 because they smell it every time they go out to the club. Someone's wearing it. But they can't justify the $350 or $400 or $500 for a bottle. So what's that person going to do, right? Well, before clones existed, the answer would be nothing. They could sit and spin. That's all they could do. Sucks to be you. Sorry that you're too poor for our fragrance. Okay? It's a lot of class warfare argument that you could twist into this conversation, and I'm not trying to do that. But a lot of things, not just luxury items either. I mean, cars were once the provenance of the rich. You wouldn't think so, but mayonnaise was once for the rich only. Poor person couldn't afford mayonnaise. I know that sounds silly, but if you do your history, you'll find if you go back far enough, sugar. Poor folks didn't use sugar for their baking. If you had a cake you wanted to make and you need to sweeten it, guess what? You're using molasses because it's cheaper than sugar, or you can go out and try and create your own sugar. You can can some fruit, okay? You can can some fruit and then use the jelly from that to sweeten your cake or whatever, or make an apple pie with no sugar, just the sweetness from the apples and whatever else. You know, that's how you did it back then. Couldn't afford sugar. Sugar was for the rich. All right? So, someone comes along, figures out a way to mass produce cars, figures out a way to mass produce sugar. Someone invents refrigeration, and then refrigeration gets cheap enough for a person to afford a fridge, so now they can afford mayonnaise. So now we can mass produce mayonnaise too. Now every Tom, Dick, and Harry is slapping mayonnaise on their sandwich and driving a Chevy, right? While pouring packets of sugar into their cheap coffee that they bought from Walmart. What do you know? So why would perfume not be any different? Why would perfume not also do that too? There's a demand needing to be met, but the current supply is not meeting it. So somebody with money already, so this has to be a rich person basically betraying his own, this is a class trader. This is a rich person betraying his own kind by making a cheap version of a product for people beneath him to purchase, okay? You could call that a class trader if you really want to be that kind of aristocratic asshole if you want, you know, blue blood, whatever. How dare you make a cheap version of this for the hoi polloi to consume? You know, they don't deserve this, right? Let them eat cake, right? Again, well, I'm just saying that's not how reality is, okay? That's how someone's fanciful Harlequin romance novel of reality is. The reality is a lot of folks want it to smell like BR540 or Aventus or whatever. I'm sure that's how a lot of your aftershaves came about back in the early 20th century. Everyone wanted Fougere Royale, but not everybody could afford Fougere Royale, so here comes Skin Bracer. You know, here comes all these other aftershaves, and they all have a very similar smell profile to Fougere Royale. Problem solved. You've met a demand with a supply. So we now have technology. We have gas chromatography. We have spectral analysis. We can get super duper duper close. I mean, so close that only someone like me, only someone like you, if you're a fragrance enthusiast, is going to know. The average Joe, the bloke, is not going to know this from Silver Mountain water. They're not. They're not going to, in the air. If I'm walking past somebody first of all, you have to recognize Silver Mountain water. You have to be a big enough nerd to recognize it. So if you're even a big enough nerd to recognize the smell of it in the air, how are you going to know it's the real deal and not this or Al Wazam Day by Ajmal? How are you going to know it's not Al Wazam Day or not this? You're not going to know, not in the air. And that person is perfectly happy. They paid their $35, they paid their $60, and they smell great, and they don't care. Yeah, there are nuances. You know, the real deal has this, and you know, you can really split hairs here if you want to. But that's what I'm saying. The demand for it was such that the clones came into being to meet that demand. That's why you have Dua recreating discontinued fragrances like Green Valley and By Man, Dolce & Gabbana, all right? Because people want those fragrances, but they don't want to pay $800 on eBay for them. That's just, there's a demand. So I think they're fine. And if you don't want to buy them, you want to run out and buy the real Ventus, you want to run out and bid on a limited, discontinued, whatever bottle of something instead of buying the duoclone, go right ahead. If you have the money to play that game, you can play that game. But if somebody is perfectly happy with a bottle of Untold instead of BR 540, let them buy Untold. Who cares? It doesn't matter. So I think it's fine. It's the free market doing its thing. And if you remove class BS from the equation and snobbery and everything else from the equation, it's just the free market doing what the free market does. There's a need here. Someone here has a supply. Boom. Commerce happens. End of story. Now, there's one other thing I need to mention, about the clone situation. And, it's just the other truth aspect about clones, too, that people, I think, they seem to forget is that you can't patent a formula. That's truth number 3. So fragrances are not protected anyway. Formulas of fragrances are looked upon the same way as recipes for food. Okay? So if you can figure out what's in it, one for one, perfectly, and recreate it perfectly, you haven't broken any laws. You're not stealing someone else's property. They can't patent a formula. They can patent an individual material, which is why Varanis, Javon, and all those guys, they create novel materials. They lock them down and make them captive, so you have to be a perfumer working for them to use that material. You have to be a client of theirs and have them make you the perfume themselves to get access to that material. So there's that. It's like console exclusives, certain games on Xbox, but not on PlayStation. All right, there's that. You can do that, but you can't patent the formula. That's why Coca-Cola has more protection around its Coke formula in Atlanta than Fort Knox. It's like a military zone there. You better have a personal army if you're going to try and break into the Coke plant and steal that, down in Atlanta, Georgia, and steal that formula. But if you somehow break in and get out and undetected, and you begin creating that perfect reproduction of the Coke formula, guess what? They can't do anything about it. They can't sue you as long as you don't use the name on the bottle, the likeness of the bottle, whatever. You can have the exact formula. You're scot-free. Fragrance is the same way. So there you have it, guys. From a legal standpoint, there's nothing wrong with clones because you can't patent the formula. And from a commerce standpoint, clones are meeting a need. So there's not really a moral dilemma there either, And yeah, if you're a perfumer, you might be a little upset that someone's copying a formula that you created because it feels like intellectual property theft. And I can understand that. I can understand from the perfumer's point of view, if you spent 5 years of your life creating that fragrance and you got it perfect, you don't like someone just coming along and taking it and making money off of it and you not getting any money. It's like with the AI stuff, okay? So I get it. All right, I'm not saying that there isn't something there that can be argued. You can argue that, okay, that's a valid point to argue about the perfumer side of things, about their intellectual property, their blood, sweat, and tears, their effort, someone else exploiting that because they had the ability to access the formula, sneak in and hack it and download it or whatever, or they just got a really good GCMS machine and they were able to figure it out, whatever the case may be, okay? So there's some moral gray areas there, but beyond that specific instance, it's whatever. So that's my opinion on clones. Let me hear about yours, and now I can go from bro mode back to normal mode, right? Since the conversation's over. This has been The Unlist, and you have a good one.